We're about 14 days into preseason already, and so we've been able to see quite a bit from both teams. I coach the men and the women. Mostly in the beginning, it's just trying to see what you have, and unlike maybe some of the other sports we lose every year about a fourth of our team, and bring in another fourth that's, in our sport at least, right away able to compete. As you know or may know, that a lot of our roster these days is international kids, and so they come from leagues around the world that bring them here ready to go. They're not like a typical freshman, and can compete right away, many of them. So it's a real kind of sifting process in the beginning, the first 6 or 8 days, just to see what we even have and how the combinations will work. We certainly have a really good returning core on both sides. I'm really optimistic about both teams, and I think our goals are high on each side. We've just kind of now into the fine-tuning. Our last scrimmage game is tonight with the women against Nyack, and we play our first games on Monday away at Cardinal Stritch. So we're starting strong with nationally ranked teams. We play a really strong non-conference schedule, first 5 or 6 games with Stritch and William Penn and Bellevue and Grandview. It's teams like that are all in the hunt for the national tournament and national rankings every year. So like in the other sports, it's all about the GPAC schedule in the end on getting to the national tournament. So we want to play the toughest schedule that we can outside of that, and I'm really excited to see what we have. We've seen really good things on both sides, and I think we're ready to go with both. That was brief.
On the men's side, Tom, 3 of the 4 area GPACs who ranked or were seated in the top 4. How do you think the men can kind of stay in that mix with Northwestern?
I mean, if we don't win this thing this year, I'll be extremely disappointed. I felt, the best team in the conference last year. We lost 3 overtime games in that season. All 3 of them, the teams that finished ahead of us, each got the win against us in overtime. The year before, when we won the conference, they were all close games as well, but we found a way to put those goals away in overtime or win it late in the game. We just weren't able to do that. We had lost Okan Gulga, who was our top scorer from the year before, so we had 28 goals to replace, and we replaced, half of those or so, but those couple key goals that we didn't score were in those games. I felt, the stronger team against Briar Cliff. We're up on them 3-1, gave away 2 goals late in the game, and got beaten overtime. We were the better team, I thought, against Northwestern, for sure in the season and even in the playoff game, but losing twice against them by a goal, it wasn't a fluke. They were a really strong together team last year, Northwestern was. Although I felt we were as, or at least as, if not more talented, which speaks to them. A great coaching staff, great team. And then Hastings, always probably a 1-goal game either way with them. We beat them the year before, close in a 1-goal game, and they beat us this year in last year in a 1-goal game. So for us, the goal is clear. We win this thing this year, and we have a really good returning core. We've got a really sharp group of freshmen that I think, again, are in a lot of ways not freshmen. They come in here with some experience and some ability, and they've seen a little bit here and there. In Europe, when you turn 18, you play in the men's league, and many of them, the custom over there more is to take a gap year. So a lot of these kids are coming in at 19 years old, 20 years old, and they've had a gap year and played with the men for a season or two, where they've learned the ropes a little bit, been knocked down a peg or two, and this is kind of what happens to American freshmen when they come to college. They get here, maybe I'm not going to go to Iowa, so I'll come to Morningside and be the man, and they find out there's a lot of men here at Morningside already on the football team, and maybe I need to wait a year or two. So it's the same thing that they've gone through already at home. So they come in here ready to go, and we've had several freshmen show well in the first couple scrimmages. So I think that our goal is clear. We are wanting to win this thing on the men's side. On the women's side, I think our goal is to be in the top 3. I think we were voted 4th, but we were better than Hastings last year and tied them. Better than Midland and lost to them in the regular season, then beat them 1-0. Then we beat them 3-0 in the playoffs, where we were just starting to hit our stride late in the season. We won 4 or 5 games in a row. And we even went into that semifinal game against Jamestown with a great first half. and only really found ourselves with starting a lot of freshmen last year near the end of the year. Jamestown, if you look at the voting totals, Jamestown and Briarcliff were kind of above the pack, and then everyone else was close. We're a vote shy of Hastings, I think. Our goal is to be in the GPAC final, okay? Get ourselves seated third or second, and get into the final and give ourselves a chance to go to the national tournament. I think we're a really good team. We return a really good core. We lost. If you take the two sides together, we probably had a bigger loss on the women's side, losing Sarah Finn, our Defensive Player of the Year on the women's side, goalkeeper, really great player, really great leader, all of that, and we lose her. So that's a little bit of a switch up to see how that'll work, but we brought in a really good keeper. We return Megan Messersmith, who's been behind Sarah for a couple of years now and is a really solid goalkeeper, but we also bring in a very experienced transfer in Isabel Tervaim. She's transferring from Westcliff in California. She's Dutch, experienced, really good with her feet as well, a good leader, and has fit in really well. Those two are going to fight it out for that goalkeeping spot. We returned most of our defending group. We really needed to improve in the attacking half on the women's side and have done so. Almost our entire incoming class is attacking players, and it's already shown in practice. It's already shown in the scrimmage games. We played Division II SMSU up 2-3-0 before we made all the changes in the third period where they scored a goal or two and made it 3-2. So we feel really good about how we played against both an Iowa Lakes team that was solid, but a SMSU team that plays in a whole different level, and we kind of carried both of those games and feel really good about that. So on both sides, really optimistic on both.
You mentioned on the men's side you were missing a couple key goals last season. Who are some guys you expect to step up and maybe put those key goals through for you this season?
Garrow Zarbo, who took that position from losing Ocon, really came on strong last year, scored 9 or 10 goals, a different type of player, more of an opportunistic scorer inside the box, not kind of a creating off the dribble all-round guy like Ocon. So I think Garrow will continue to be a big factor for us up front. We brought in a new kid, Frederick Endahl, a freshman from Denmark who's already shown really strong. We have a returning kid who kind of was just getting his feet wet last year, Alex Gonzalez from South Sioux, who's a really strong player and I think really kind of turned it on more in the spring and was great for us in the spring. We've got a couple other factors here I think that can be pieces to it. We're just not sure who's going to step forward and be the goal scorer, but what I've seen so far, it's really not been a guy. It's been a whole bunch of offensive pressure on the other team. I thought we played, the last couple of years, I have a good partnership with Ben McCrae, the coach up at Iowa Lakes. He has a nationally ranked powerhouse JUCO team up there. And the past two preseasons, we've just been stomped by them. And it really allows us to recalibrate for the boys to say, okay, maybe we do need to listen. And it's kind of got us together for a run into the season. It's kind of straightened us out, so to speak. This year we beat them 1-0 up there just a couple days ago. So already we're seeing that our overall group committed to each other a little bit more. I'd put us, I kind of alluded to this earlier. We've been the more talented team. Last year I didn't feel we were the most together team. But what I've seen this year already is that we're much more committed to each other. We don't have a star guy now, so I think we've kind of gotten used to the fact that Ocon's not going to be here. We need to figure out how to do this by committee, as you say, and get it done by ball movement and teamwork. And I think that we've seen that so far. There's a couple other ones that will come through. I don't want to mention too many names right now to make them think there's pressure there or whatever, but I do think we're going to be a high-scoring, very fluid, offensively oriented team. So I think Garrow will have a piece in that, and I'm hoping Frederick will be a piece of that. Robin Tomala is another kid who scored a bunch for us a spring ago, and then last fall he was solid but didn't score a lot of goals. So he's going to be a leader in that front line as well. We're changing a little bit of how we play offensively, formationally. I don't know what that would be like in football, and I don't think we're a wing T or whatever the old ones are. So it's kind of a newer thing that we're going to try this year. So we'll see how that works out. But again, it's geared to playing more people into the offensive half and just be a little more fluid and dynamic. So I think we'll score a lot of goals, where last year we couldn't find those goals.
Coach, for both teams, as you guys wrap up scrimmage play and head into the regular season, these first couple of games, regardless of result, what are some things you're really wanting to see early on from these teams?
I think, and we just re-emphasized that this morning in our practice, and that is kind of two things. On offense, we're trying to let the ball do all the work, really fast ball movement, get rid of it quickly, kind of like a fast break offense in basketball, where you just boom, 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 layup, okay? As opposed to a slow, methodical, kind of pick them apart with pick and roll and kind of down low post type stuff. We want to be a fast break team. Defensively, we want to be kind of a high pressure, not like a full court press team, but doing it at mid court, not down in our own end. And I know the soccer field's a lot bigger than the basketball court, so you wouldn't do this in basketball. In basketball, you either play strong in your own half, or you're a full court press team, or you kind of mix the two. So I would look at it like a really strong man-to-man defense in your own end, but doing it up at midfield. So we're going to really try to suffocate teams at midfield, but not high press them. It just stretches you out too far in soccer and exposes you. So hard-working, man-to-man, pressing type thing on defense, and quick ball movement on offense. And I think both of those things really lend themselves to playing together as a team. So we're not going to clear out and give the ball to Michael Jordan to dribble in on 1v1s or whatever. We want to move the ball and spread teams out and kind of get in behind them and stuff like that. So we'll see if it works. Thanks for the question.
Is that a possession style then?
Yes and no. No, in the sense that we're not just trying to keep the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball. You could even look at the old Four Corners offense as a possession game, right? But that was slow. Okay, so we're going to try to really almost like a overload to one side, get everybody shifted over, quickly switch and get going. So it's a real quick ball movement thing. Shifting in soccer, unlike basketball, you can't cover the whole field no matter what you do. So when the ball gets over to the left side, for example, teams will try to press you against that side and not let you play that ball over. So the quicker you move teams side to side, really, the better off you're going to be with chances at goal. So that's what we want to do, and we have the teams to do that. We've seen really good ball movement. As I said, we're very technical. We're very able on the ball. We're not like if we had Ocon, we could throw the ball over the top and he goes down and scores at the other end. But we're not really that way this year. I think it could be a good thing for us because you get overly reliant on one star. I'm not saying we did that. Ocon was a good team guy too, but you get overly reliant on scoring or playing one way, and the further you get in the playoffs or the further you get into the national tournament, the easier it is to key on that one guy. So I really, honestly, if we don't win the GPAC with the men, it'll be a disappointment. There's 2 or 3 different ways you can get in, obviously. If you don't win it and you come in second in the regular season and you don't win the tournament, you get in. You can come in second in the regular season and win the tournament and get in, and then you can also have a great season overall and be nationally ranked and all that and get in a third way. So we're just going to play every game as if it means a lot, which it does. And in the GPAC, the way soccer is, one loss can put you out of hosting the top 4, or one loss can put you out of winning that thing in the regular season. So 3 years ago, we got to the national tournament by coming in second, and Hastings won both. And then the next year, we got in the national tournament by winning the regular season both times and not winning the tournament at the end. So we still got there, and so we've won the conference 2 years in a row, been in the nationals 3 years in a row, and then last year, just by losing overtime games, we were out. So we want to put ourselves in a better position to be at the national tournament again. Our goal 2 years ago was to get to the final site. We lost in double overtime and then penalty kicks to MacU, who went on to be ranked number 1 the following season right away, and so we lost to a really, really good team. Probably 2 top teams that were in the wrong bracket right away. However, we have to prove it. We aren't football. We aren't Morningside football yet. We're not Morningside women's basketball yet. We got to put our foot in there and try to get ourselves to we've kind of gotten into the top 25 now. We've kind of got even ranked as high as 10th 2 years ago. And now we just got to be a little bit more consistent on the men's. With the women, I think we can play with anybody. But I think we have two really strong teams in Jamestown and Briar Cliff that will make it interesting. I think we're in the top, in that same group with those two, Hastings, Concordia. It's tight. It's tight. Maybe not as bad as volleyball, but it's tight. Okay? Anything else?
Oh, yeah, it seems like both squads give a decent amount of returners for both. How does it feel for you as a coach to have players who are already familiar with your system?
Yeah, I mean, that part would be great if we were playing the same system. We're trying something different, so they're having to relearn. But yeah, as far as like how we train and what the expectation level is and what our culture is and all that, it is really great. We've got some good leaders. You'll see a couple of them later on. Really good kids, and I feel like I don't know how it is in the other sports, but in soccer, like I said, with these kids coming in from some other countries, we have some kids that can play right away, and it's really good to have older leaders who can incorporate them into what we're doing and make them feel like they are a big part of what we're doing. So it is great to have a mix of both. Good?